Good morning, everyone. It is Feature Friday, and today I thought, in fact, spoiler alert, and she probably knows this. Eileen is the one who inspired this conversation today, based Eileen, who has a lap full of dogs right now.
Yes, I said the schnauzer. I wanted to type it, but they're blocking my arm right now. Both the interns decided they must be on my lap right now.
So we had a conversation yesterday based on, I know some of you are in the middle of business school right now, and some of you took the workshop last week. And whether you did the workshop or in business school, this is going to be really applicable to you if you're thinking about what should I be posting on social media. And so we're going to run over to the page wheel copy pack. So let me share my screen. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, so we tried to make copy packs like super easy and really direct, like, hey, if you're looking for this, here's what you could use. Hey, if you're looking for this, this is what you could use. But if you look down here, you're going to see that there are 50 some templates. So obviously, it's not as simple as here you want this, go use this. I mean, we wouldn't need 50, we would need 7 or 6 or 5 or 2. So why are there so many different ideas in here? And it's because when someone comes to us or when we solve a problem for ourselves, we're like, oh, let's make a copy pack for that. So a lot of them are labeled in what I would call like their most common use case. So if you're looking for a social calendar, that the social calendar is the most common use case to go ahead and run. Like, hey, here's a whole bunch of ideas so that when I'm filling out my social calendar, meaning you're thinking, hey, not only what am I going to post today, but what am I going to post tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the day after that? The social calendar is really great about instead of staring at a blank sheet of paper or a spreadsheet or a scheduler, that you actually have a plan of action. And then when you go through like the workshop, and in business school, we'll be covering this too, is that one of the ways that we grew our pages, Rachel and I, is that we created some sort of rotation so that you're not saying the same thing over and over and over again, even though you're not, but sometimes it feels like that to you. So you might have where, okay, I'm going to do a meme, every third one is going to be a meme. Every third one is going to be a conversation. Every third is going to be a tutorial. Every third is going to be X. So if you went, and Rachel's really good about giving you guidelines as to what works kind of systematically throughout the world. But you're going to find as you post that some of these things are going to resonate more with your audience and some of them are going to resonate less. So guess what you get to do, because you are in control of your business, is maybe your people hate memes. And all of a sudden you think, why am I posting something that they hate every third time? Why don't I either eliminate it and see how that goes, or maybe I'm going to decrease it. So maybe I'm doing it every 6 days or something like that. So you're going to and the only way you'll know this is if you test it. So one of the reasons why we have a suggested, hey, do this and then this and all these different types of posts is not just for the variety, and that when any given time someone comes to your page, they see kind of all about you, not just one segment of what you do. But also it gives you that data to be really clear about what you could do further. So one of the things that, and Rachel calls these, I think, the big ask posts, and she recommends that you put those in on a regular basis. I do too. I'd call them more of like a sell post. And what that means is that a lot of times we do really good social media about, here's what I had for lunch. Here's a funny meme. Here's a tutorial I did. And then we forget to tell them or inform them that we have something for sale. So when we talk about the big ask, it's really it's a post that has a call to action to either learn more about what you do and what you're paid for, or to actually go and ask for that sale on that item. Because and this, we've talked about this a lot in this training over the years, is like, you if you don't tell them that you're selling something, then it's your damn fault when they don't buy it. So we got to make sure that in that rotation we're informing, and it's not spammy, especially when you look at it really carefully, and it's carefully crafted in your voice and in your thing. So let's look at some of the places that you could go to copy packs that that would have some fodder for the sale. So while you guys were talking, I put creates a plan for farmhouse decorations for your home that is livable. So we're going to create some content for Kim's friend. And so, but let's look specifically at, let's say that she has a program, or she has a coaching program, or a, kind of a tutorial program that would take people through kind of these steps. So let's go start with the social things. And we're looking specifically for things that would have call to actions, or that we could easily add call to actions to. So ad copy is obvious, okay? The ad copy, and the reason why it's called ads have a call to action, because why would you just put a bunch of money behind something that you're not like actually, selling behind the scenes? So ad copy is a great one to do. But I also like, if we go into the social conversation starters, I like that one because it pulls in some of the problems that you're solving. And then the sales conversations ladder is another one I like. Also, Eileen uses Pinterest descriptions, which I think is a really good one. So let's run those 4 and just take a look at that with those in mind. And thinking about, why would we go to more than one place in here than like just the ad copy? Well, because the ad copy may be great, but it runs 2. So you end up, like, if you say, oh, I want these exactly, if you're filling out a month's worth of calendar, you may run this multiple times, which is fine. If that's if that seems to fit your kind of brand, that works really good. But the other thing could be is that sometimes this pattern of talk may not fit you exactly, or you may want to be adding in a little bit more information or perspective into that. And so that's why we're going to look at some of the other things. So let's start with the ad copy. So are you looking to create a warm and inviting farmhouse atmosphere for your home? Look no further. Our expert team creates personal decoration plans that are not only charming, but also livable. So, and this goes exactly to the point of the reason why we don't connect this directly to your social media is because I don't want you copying and pasting that directly into it. Well, I actually do want you copying and pasting it directly in there, but I want you as a human to go in and make this about you. So our expert team creates personalized decoration plans that are not only charming, but livable. Okay, if you happen to have a team that does exactly that, then that's great to use. But most of us are going to say, and I'm going to make up stuff about Kim's friend. So, but she can say, hey, over the years of like filling my house with Hobby Lobby, I developed a system that cuts out the clutter and really like allows you to prioritize what you're going to buy. So you can see how that would change the way the person would look at that. So, hey, I have this customized plan. You're not going to look like Walmart threw up on your porch. Because I really figured out the secret to like going and buying strategically so that you have it's cheaper, it's legacy. These are things that you'll be able to hand down to your children. You can see how that would change with just a few words if you personalize it. So these work really good for prompting you to go in and think about that call to action. So like, let's go down to one of the call to actions. Don't miss out on transforming your home into stylish, livable farmhouse haven. Contact us now. So I love this because a lot of times we're timid. And these are going to push you into that call to action. So you can see that we could probably get 6 or 7 posts out of this if we wanted to, depending on what your kind of your brand is. Do you write long posts? Do you write short posts? And it's, I think it's also a really great idea to mix it up a little bit. So you might try some really long call to action posts, because if people keep reading, it's not bothering them if you have a really post. Or you could try some really short and snappy posts and just see how they react. So, but I would start on the ad copy, because it's going to get your brain in the call to action lingo. Because now we can go to one of these others. Let's start with the sales conversation ladders. So these are obviously set aside. A lot of times we suggest, like, the most common use case of this might be, hey, you're in a conversation in a group or in a direct message or something that where you're trying to lead up to a sale in some way. These are going to be stronger worded for call to action. So these also could be modified or even sometimes used just as they are in a sales type post or a big ask post. So let's see, are you thinking about creating farmhouse decorations plans for your home that is livable? Because I just finished putting together mine. Let me know if you'd like some inspiration. So you see how that is a less of a direct like call to action, but it also it gives you this idea of, oh, I could phrase it that way and not sound like, like feeling super spammy inside. So these are really great to mix and match as well. These are going to be a little bit of a softer call to action, which can work really well too. Or you could take that and just switch it around for a stronger call to action. Or these also you might have a little bit of information, and these might go in as that second paragraph or that third paragraph in a longer form post as well. Social conversation starters is kind of like that entry point where what inspired you to start decorating your home with farmhouse theme. I might follow that up on, I lived in a farmhouse and then moved to New York City, and I wanted that taste of home, there. So let me show you how, even if you live in an apartment in a high rise, that you can integrate the farmhouse feel and make it feel like home. Click here for more. So you can see how these things can take you into like that end goal that we want with the call to action. And then the Pinterest ones are really interesting. And we made these, if you look up here, that is telling you what we programmed behind the scenes with the prompt. So and that's why some of these don't work for every single thing, because not everything has a daily routine. But in this case, it probably does. Simplify your daily routine with these farmhouse decor tips that prioritize functionality without sacrificing style. Actually, kind of cool. Maybe a little kind of a perspective you hadn't thought about. Because really, when you think about your friend and how she is teaching people how to use these, these decorating things, it's because every day they want to feel at home in their house. Every day they want to feel like home is home. And so thinking about it from all these like productivity, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but because you think about, oh, some farmhouse is super cluttered, like it's not functional within the house, depending on what she's teaching, that might be hey, do you want an efficient house that doesn't sacrifice a farmhouse style? So going in and using these from like different perspectives can just vary up, especially like because I know this from experience, when you're sitting down to like schedule out the month, you have really good intentions for those first few days. Your posts are amazing and you're like super creative. And then you've put together 7, posts, and you're on week 3. And all of a sudden you're like, dang it, I have like 15 minutes to get the rest of this month done. All of a sudden your posts are just like, hey, say hi if you're out there. So thinking about using some of these things as inspiration can make even that 3rd and 4th week feel fresh when you're doing something all in a batch, which we highly recommend, because you know what's not sustainable is getting up every morning and trying to figure out what you're going to post every day. That is sustainable, like if you're punching the clock, like if you're being paid for it. Super not sustainable if you're like, oh crap, what am I going to post today? So this can give you some of those ideas. So I wanted to show just another thought. So like when we're thinking about the big ask and we're thinking about those sales posts that we want to integrate into our social media, it's obvious that we come to social content. But whoa, there's so much stuff in these other tabs that could be pulled and used and worked into either long form, short form, just picking and choosing what you want to do. The head and heart solutions is one of those. Those are the reasons people are going to give you money, even though they might have objections. The head and heart objections are the root of that. Like if you can solve these problems before they actually object with them, then that ask or that big ask or that sale is going to be a lot easier. So these are really good places to find content surrounding sales as well. Also, they're in the blog content, we're website or blog content. Obviously, we're thinking blog posts, all that kind of stuff. But really, these days, you could be a blogger on social media. You know, the long form content could be posted. It's literally at this point a medium of where you're going to put it. So you could go in, use some paragraphs, use, you know, some call to actions. The end of all our blog posts have a call to action, by the way, because we would never want to create a content piece that didn't lead them somewhere else. So that's a really like good place to come if you're just looking for ideas. Email marketing. We have all sorts of sales email copy. So going in, you don't even it says email, you don't have to use it for email. You could use it pulling out pieces. In fact, let's run these. I really love these these inspirational. There's a whole bunch of them here, but let's just run one or two of them. Where you can just pull a little bit of copy. And by the way, you guys, you could then also use some of this copy in other places. I know Rachel's teaching you how to kind of rotate your content through the multiple social media platforms you might have, but also open up your email and write those at the same time. Because if you're crafting messages to go to your audience, you could also be putting that stuff in the email. And I promise you, I dare anyone to prove me wrong on this, that if you copy and paste something you put on Facebook and you put it in your email and somebody saw it on Facebook and then reads it in your email, under no circumstance are they ever going to know that. You know, they're going to feel like it's on brand. Oh, that seems familiar. Oh, she's you know, I always know what to expect when I hear from Holly. So let's look at this. Like, try sprucing up your home with warm and inviting house. Consider giving your product a tie. Here's 4 reasons why it's worth it. We haven't gotten anything like that from those sales posts, but giving people 4 reasons to buy your product on social media is an amazing thought. We hadn't even scratched the surface on that. Also, by the way, each one of these could be a post that you use for sales. By the way, each one of these could be a post, and then you could sum it up at the end. Again, nobody's going to remember that they saw that tip 3 weeks ago on your Facebook page, and then you repeated it again. How dare you be on topic? So looking at are you tired of wandering aimlessly in stores trying to figure out how to decorate your farmhouse? I feel like that spoke to several of you right now, right today. So figuring out how to use some of this and then adding that call to action. So the other one, products and programs, has ad copy in it. It also has a virtual sales letter script. That VSL is virtual sales letter, meaning that this is a script, how to sell your product. So you could see how you could grab some language out of that. Even if you don't want to do a video, you could go and just grab some of that language for a blog, social post, and then going into the video scripts, the same thing. There's emotional selling video scripts. Yeah, take out the video. If you don't want to do the video, you could use some of that copy in a call to action. Like, the one thing about these video scripts that are for sales specifically is they have really strong call to actions. So we've done all that with the same prompt. Okay, so we could have created 365, like call to action type posts from just from what we did just then. But then think about this next level. If you feel like you're not getting exactly what you're wanting from this, then you could go in and just run a prompt that may be a little bit more specific. Or you might pull in, remember in that email marketing where we found, hey, here's 4 reasons that you need to buy my product. Run one of those reasons right here, and then you can create a whole bunch more content for that. So like, this is kind of this fine line that we're always, kind of working. Like, we want to make it simple so that you're not overthinking everything. But then once you get a few posts out, you might be thinking, oh, they all are starting to feel a little bit the same, or I don't have any new ideas. So instead of being overwhelmed, think about, hey, let me try just 1 or 2 of these other things that Holly showed me, or that I've poked around in copy packs to see, and expand it from there. So don't do all the things. Start with 1 or 2, and then once you get really comfortable about how those work and how that works with your business, is add another 1 or 2 when you're like, oh crap, I just feel like I need a new fresh idea today. Is just take a little bit deeper dive. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what that could look like for just that one type of post, and realize that you do not need to open up all 32 tabs on this when you're setting up your editorial calendar, but you may open 1 or 2 of these tabs, fill it out, and then when you get to week 4 in hour 1.5, you're like, my brain's dead. Open up another tab just so that you can get that little fresh idea, so that you're giving, because we all have the best intentions until we're just like, I'm brain dead at this moment. So all right, anyone have any questions about that? And I'll open up the chat too.
I see Sean has his name up, but I jumped in first. So he's next. I have several, so I'm only going to ask one and then get in the back of the line again. When you talked about talked about long form content, please explain that, because long form means many things to different people, and I tend to be wordy. So my emails, that's one of the feedbacks I got, is they're just so long I can't read them, but I keep thinking, oh, da 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 da. So I have to learn to shut myself off, rather than the opposite of other people that don't write enough. So please speak to that.
And this is coming from a fellow long form content girl. So I think people who tell us we're writing too much need to step back from the judgment a little bit, because that's part of who we are. And to be authentic, I'm going to need to tell you a story. In fact, if you meet me in person, at no point am I not going to tell you a story, but I'm sorry. It's part of who I am. And if you don't like it, there are plenty of other beautiful people in the world that you can hang out with. So, but I think there's techniques, Cynthia, to overcome that, where maybe if we're going to launch into a big old long story, we could potentially put a paragraph up at the top that is like, why you might want to read this story, or give them some sort of hook as to why it's worth their while to keep. Because I get it. Like, our lives are very overwhelming right now with a lot of content. But if you have a little synopsis or a little like cliffhanger, I love the cliffhanger, because this is how soap operas became like a thing. Is like the cliffhanger at the end of every episode. There was no way you weren't coming back the next day. So you could do that within your own email, is give them something strong that keeps them continuing to read. But in like 2024, long form content I would say on social media is generally anything that they would have to click to read more. So on whatever platform you're on, that may mean like, on Facebook, what is it, 2 or 3 lines? I think it's just 2 right now. That like, even if you have a link or something like that, they're going to have to click to read more. But once, like, I want to encourage you that there is no too long at that point. Yeah, no, because you're not, like, Facebook's not showing like the 17 paragraphs to the person that doesn't want to read the 17 paragraphs. That person had to actually take action, which by the way is an indication that you're not spam, because nobody like clicks read more on a spammy post. So that's going to give you more of that algorithmic, juice. So if you have a reason, like let's say that top sentence or two has a level of, this word got way bastardized, but clickbait. If you give someone a reason to click in a way that you're going to deliver, and then they click read more, and then they're on, remember they have paused their scroll and they're reading. Guess who knows that? The algorithm sees that, oh, a certain percentage, maybe 0.1% of the people that went flying by, they stopped it, they clicked the read more, and then they spent a minute reading it. That's amazing feedback that your post isn't spam. So do not ever have anyone tell you that you're too long or too whatever, because by the time that that person gets to the bottom, and by the way, they can opt out at any point. You have not gone to their house. You have not held a gun to their head. They can just stop reading at any moment. And by the way, people do. So you're going to have some people hop out after word 5 of the read more, and you'll have some people that read it halfway through and are like, oh, that's cool. And then you'll have some people that read it all the way to the bottom. And this is kind of based on that same thing that a sales page, as long as it's kind of a funnel, a sales page can never be too long, because the people that are at the bottom are still looking for more information. So really in 2024, like long form content used to be website and blog posts, whereas today you could be publishing those longer things. And I think about like on Substack, for instance, like you might have you might be subscribed to someone and they send out the emails each week. They're going to give you a certain amount of teas in that email that then the longer form content, you'd have to go over to the website to read more. But they could have put that all in the email too. So like, it's just what works best for you. But don't never apologize for giving more information or more entertainment, more tips. I mean, like that's kind of what people are seeking right now within like somebody that they like, know, trust. Sean.
I didn't actually, I can't remember my question. It must have been on ADHD, because that's what my thing is. So
I love it.
So I just I mean, I guess one of the things that I was looking at, as far as I was taking some notes, as I always do. I mean, when we're doing these posts, and there's some of them like Pinterest, I'm like, well, isn't Pinterest like things? I mean, as opposed to some post of words.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really about building a relationship of trust.
Yeah.
Because I can see, when I took Rachel's 100 day
People.
course,
Yeah.
100 people, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to do exactly what she says and whatnot, and it 100% worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I went from like 300 followers to 1,100 in just about a month.
Mm-hmm. I love
And
that.
and then I got caught up in work, and then I kind of let it fall by the wayside. And I mean, and it's kind of maintained, but it, you know, it ebbs and flows. And I thought, wow, all I really need to do is keep doing that. And it would continue to grow and grow and grow. And as you continue to do that, you'll think of new ideas and things will happen. But I mean, as far as those posts go, I mean, our, you know, is our ultimate goal to, I mean, we talk a lot about Facebook. I mean, are we looking at, okay, social media as a whole? So that includes Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Instapot. I don't know what all of them are.
So Sean, I love this question. And I think, and to answer this is number one, you know, first of all, the 100 Perfect People is genius because, like I've always said, if we could show you exactly what to do every single day to do, and do it, you know, we would be billionaires. And 100 people, 100 Perfect People was as close to that as I've ever seen. Like, do this and this will result. And then it gets a little bit more complicated as you're scaling your business and you're all in different like levels of your business. And some of you are starting from scratch and some of you have thousands and thousands of followers. So, but this is across the board. And this is something that I want you to think about for your situation, Sean, is that you want to develop something reasonable for you to do that's sustainable. Because what often happens in a lot of our businesses is we have the summer that we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then, oh my goodness, all of a sudden school starts or work starts, or I have a project or I have to travel or somebody gets sick, and then all of a sudden this flash of brilliance just comes crashing down. So whatever that minimal viable product that you can put out there right now, just to keep the momentum, even if it's a plateau of momentum, is what I would suggest. So looking at, hey, do I have an hour this weekend that I could schedule out a month's worth of X? For you, that might be once a week right now, if you're really busy, or if you're not, that might be once a day, or you might be able to sit down and do the whole plan of multiple things on what you're doing. So I would start with whatever platform is the most important to you, what the minimum viable product is for that platform if you're in one of those stages of life. Like, now Rachel is really smart about teaching, and this was in business school this last week, about choosing a short-term goal platform and a long-term goal platform. And then, so if you're at the point where you could schedule to both those at this point, that would be amazing too. So a short-term platform is a platform where the content is very fleeting. So like an Instagram post or a Facebook post where, it may go viral, and then a week later, you're starting from scratch. Whereas a long form might be, Pinterest, where some of my pins don't even take hold for a year or two. I mean, you literally forgot you did it by the time Pinterest sees it. Or YouTube is kind of like that, where you're creating a library of content that builds over time and that gets more attention over time, those type of things. I would consider these days a website to be more of a long-term thing too. So like strategically, these things, can be used and mixed and matched to fit what's happening in your life right now. And these systems are in place, and tools like copy packs and stuff are to hopefully help you create a system that's sustainable for you right now and is as easy as possible to get as much of what you want done in a short amount of time. And I think that goes into, somebody said something about how much. Anyway, go ahead if anyone else has a question. I'll look for that other.
If you don't talk, I will.
Go for it. I love it.
All right. You lost out. Two things. I have a question about, I put it in the chat too. And there's been a little bit of chat about a theme. I have a tendency to be a spaghetti at the wall because I am a 15, probably most of us in this room, a 15 million idea, zillions of books, all of that going on in my mind all the time. So I've told myself, okay, you need to focus yourself. And I'm thinking of Rachel right now. Focus ourselves and follow more of a theme and a strategy, which I think probably KJ is much better at. Pick out people in the room, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm assuming that this talk today is helping us move more towards that and a kind of a theme, a strategy of that, rather having some sort of a consistency. And I'm not really sure what the question is in that, but I'm wondering if I'm on the right track. It's like this is in
Absolutely.
my back of my mind. I've actually went through and wrote out different topics for each month, but have I been following it? No.
So I look at it more, and when I teach, it's funny because I teach what, I can't remember what her name is, but she teaches something very similar, but I had been teaching it beforehand, by the way. But, and I just think about like the grid of 9, where like where on Instagram, you have like the grid of 9. On the Facebook, you're like, you can feature up to 9 photos on the sidebar. Thinking about like, if you made those 9 posts kind of describe your business or your life or whatever you're trying to do on social media. But like, so you could see that like maybe every, the first one, you could talk about your lunch if all 9 weren't about your lunch. You could talk about, your front door if all 9 weren't talking about your front door. So like thinking about, okay, and this is how we built Quirky Mama, is I literally had a bunch of categories on the blog, because we don't just do kids activities, we do kids crafts, we do homeschool stuff, we do parenting, we do recipes, we do, we would do trending topics that are in, all that kind of stuff. And so I basically just rotated those on a spreadsheet. So every day at 8 o'clock, we talked about parenting. Every day at 9 o'clock, we had a craft. Every day at 10 o'clock, we had a meal that you could make for lunch. Every day at 11, we had a snack. So we just would rotate through that. It makes it so much easier to schedule that content out, because guess what I can do is I can go find my top parenting posts for October, and I can just schedule those out throughout the entire month on that one line. So all of a sudden, you're not thinking about just the linear day, but you're thinking about the linear month as far as rotating those things out. So whether that be subject matter, whether that be a type of post, like Rachel teaches, like what we talked about, the big ask post, the engagement post, that kind of stuff, is you could be rotating those within those subject matters or outside of those subject matters, in a way that makes sense for your business. So, and I think just stepping back and looking at all of this information is that really what we want to make it a system that makes it easier for you to do this. But then the other thing is at any given time, and that's why I like to think about it as kind of the grid of 9. If you're like rotating through any given time, someone comes to that page, they're going to have a full picture of what you do, because they're going to see, oh, she is selling something because she had a big ask post. And I'm going to say big ass anytime I say that. I can't stop the big ask post. But you can see how, if you look at it just strategically stepping back. So, and that's why everybody's going to have a little bit different mix of content. Whereas I might choose to put, parenting and meal prep and that kind of stuff in my grid of 9, because that's what I do for a business. Somebody might say, oh, that's way too much personal information for my business, but you might switch out something like a behind the scenes, how I did this, or a tutorial, let's make this together. Part of that in that grid of 9.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And it would help me if you would show me on, give me, if you can, do a screen share and show me what you mean about the photos on the sidebar. I lost that. And and I'll step out if somebody else wants to ask something. And I have trouble with this grid of 9. I'm still working on it from the first business school. And I went through this. We have some support groups that we get together and talk about what the lesson was about. And I've never quite gotten the 9. I got my identity statements. I've got lots of really big posts that went off, but I never understood that 9 grid. And I promise I'm going to be quiet this time.
No. And mine is a very terrible example of it. Because this would be the the 9 most recent posts if you don't set it up. You can go in there and set these if you want to, but you can see I'm not been very good about my grid of 9 on Facebook because it doesn't show everything I do. It just shows that I was on, some speaking things recently. But if I had strategically pulled this together, I might have, like a parent, a picture of a parenting, a picture of travel, a picture of a craft I did with my kids. And this is getting harder for me since my kids are now in college versus toddlers, and that's my target audience. But you can see this grid of 9 is just like your Instagram, and it's going to run your latest things, or you can tell Facebook, I want to show these 9 things. So it's really more, I really want you to think, like, not get stymied on like, oh, I need 9 different topics, or I need to find things I can talk about equally in amount of time. What you want to just really, what the grid of 9 kind of makes you think about is, I don't want 7 pictures in a row that all say the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I want to vary this up a little bit. But if I start finding that people are engaging more with, my quick tips for a healthy snack, then if there's 2 snacks in that grid of 9, oh, the horror, like that's not going to be a problem at all. Like, especially if I have it, spaced out with other stuff, or call to actions and stuff like that. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. You may only have 4 topics that you're actually rotating through, or you might have 9, or you might have 10, God forbid, that falls into the next page, and, any given time, somebody comes in there. So, Kim.
I'm pretty dialed in on my social media at this point because I've been doing it for a few years. So I'm just kind of tossing around this idea. It's something you said last time we met, I think. And you said that you used your email list like a social media platform. And that really hit me, because I was like, the people that get onto your email list are like, they're the next step in the journey. They're the ones that they're more than joined a Facebook group. It was more than a click. They had to give their email,
Right,
for whatever the reason was, right? And that's a bigger ask, right? And so I do find that I get like a 50% open rate. Click-through rate can vary, it depends on the thing. But can you talk a little bit about how you would use it like a social media? Because I'm thinking, give them special treatment, a little bit more than you would get on my Facebook page or in my Facebook group.
So there's really kind of 2 ways to look at this, and you're really dialed in on your niche, so that you don't have people that are like, oh, I'm following Kim because she occasionally puts a healthy snack on Facebook. Most people are, you're doing crafting. So your people are a little bit more like, the people know what to expect. In my case, kids' activities, parenting, coloring pages, worksheets. You might have a 2-year-old, you might have a 13-year-old. So in my case, it's a little bit different that way. So in my case, I'm thinking, I want to make sure there's something for everyone that might have opted in. And you're probably already doing this because you have that audience dialed in a little bit. But
I do have a couple of different streams.
But the other thing about remember, special delivery means you're making it easier for them. So don't, like, you could literally say, here's what's happening on Facebook this week. and you're hand delivering that to that person who may have been too busy to go
Yeah.
find that. And that's kind of the white glove treatment, like your concierge for your community. And I know that you've done this too, with where like, hey, I found this really cool thing, even if it's not yours, that you might all like to go see. That's like hand picked things that you did for them. Or like, hey, remember when we did this last year at this time? You know, it might even be something you don't put on your social media, but you want to be like, you know, you can tell the story, you know, around it or something like that. Behind the scenes works really well, but so to behind, I always feel like my email is like my social media. I might do some behind the scenes stuff, but then my email, I might go that next level and and get a little bit more personal with that.
Right. Okay. Cause I was thinking like I do, you know, if I see something that I like somewhere on the internet that isn't necessarily, not even that's not craft related or whatever, but it's just, I don't post it on my page typically, you know, maybe a Pinterest thing, but I'm like, hey, check this out. Cause we are all the same kind of vibe, right? Like if I like it, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be interested too, because we're all the same.
Yeah, and I think that you're kind of taking it almost like you're reverse engineering what I'm already doing, because you're saying, hey, here's the craft stuff that I'm always, and oh, by the way, because I know you might like these things too. Whereas I'm kind of reversing it, say, because I know you, I think you like all these things, but you know, if you have a 13-year-old, you're not going to want the potty training post, but I need to put the potty training post in the email for the person that has a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you know, it's kind of that balance, but here again, kind of what we were talking about with Cynthia earlier is you could put things that are less applicable to all the people lower down in that email. And so you could, you know, the thing you might want to kind of, hey, the top of the email is what you think is targeted at the most people on your list. And then those people that keep on reading, you can just keep delivering.
Ah, okay. That's a good point. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. We have 2 more minutes. Anybody else? Sustainable is a minimum viable product. Yeah, y'all, I used to get a lot of crap on this, but if you can't sustain your business, it's a really expensive hobby. So like you know, and it's a hobby that's taking you a lot of time. So we need to build a business that's sustainable. And we don't want to be like those .com people that raised billions of dollars and then actually couldn't deliver on that. It's much better to start duct taping things together, not putting money out there, not putting a lot, putting the effort strategically out there that's sustainable long term. Because like, guess what? When those .coms went out and tried to get another $1 billion from those investors after they couldn't deliver on what they promised the first time, they're like, yeah, no, I don't think so. We're good. So like, if you can build that business in a sustainable way that doesn't take away from everything else in your life, you're going to be a lot happier with that business once you've grown it too. All right, guys. So you may have noticed on the calendar that we are pushing into business school. If you have not joined business school, it's included with anybody at the business level of Pagewheel. That includes our founders, of course. If you want to upgrade, you can still do that. You can do that in your dashboard. And all you need to do is just message me. I can get you into the Facebook group and stuff like that. We've really only had 1 class, so you're not behind. We can still catch you up. But business school is meeting 3 times a week, so we're pulling back for the next few weeks on the trainings. I'm just going to do Feature Friday on Friday mornings. And just know, if you are not taking business school and you need help, I am here on the other side of the live chat. In fact, it's usually better to do that than post in the Facebook group. By the way, when you post in the Facebook group, I am not a Facebook person, so I'm only there because of Pagewheel. That's just a life choice I've made in the last few years. So you'll get instant attention or within an hour or 2 on the live chat, whereas in the Facebook group, I don't hear it until a lot of times somebody messages me and like, hey, there's a question in the Facebook group. So just just hit me up in the live chat on Pagewheel. That would be great. And then, and if you do need any help getting into business school, there also, if you have any friends that are thinking about starting a business or they're struggling with their business online, use your affiliate link to invite them in to Pagewheel at that business level. It is a course that Rachel used to sell for almost $1,000. So, and it's for the price of the business level. So I think it's just a really amazing thing, and we have such good feedback about it. So I will see you later today in the business school training if you're joining us for that, and then I'll see you next Friday if you're not in business. All right, have an amazing weekend. Bye.